probably the best Thursday night football game I have seen in a long time. Uncle Manny said that in the group chat, and my reply was, well, we've been getting a lot of great Thursday night football games, which is a great contrast to how it used to be. But nevertheless, it was a great game as the Lions win 34-31 against the Packers, Kaz.
I'll make this brief. Shout out Dan Campbell. Shout out Dan. Because guess what? You guys remember what happened to them in the NFC Championship game, right? What did Dan Campbell do? He took too many gambles and it ultimately lost the game, right?
Yep.
This man against the Green Bay Packers, knowing that they lose this game and we win, seeing our schedule, knowing we play Carolina next. Actually, we didn't have to even beat Carolina. We already did our job last week when we beat who do we play? I don't even know. It doesn't matter. We get the number 1 seed, and they now are the 2 seed if they lose to Green Bay. And we went out for the most part. And that man said, still, I'm sticking to who I am. Went for on 4th down, I think 4 times, converted 3 out of 4 times. The time before the last time, they failed. And they gave the ball to the Packers on their own side of the field. He did not change. That dude is insane. And that's the kind of stuff that everybody says, oh, that's going to lose you a playoff game. Are you sure about that? We mentioned the Chiefs, right? They're winning games. The Lions, they're winning games. And they're winning games in a more honorable fashion than the Chiefs are, obviously. But regardless, this is a massive game on Thursday night on a short week against a division rival who also, if they lose this game to Green Bay would not be 9-4. They would be 10-3. And Detroit would be, instead of 12-1, 11-2. They'd be risking the fact that they might lose a division because Detroit still has a couple more games to play. I believe a couple division games to play that are going to be tough. They still got Minnesota again. I think they got Chicago one more time, I want to say. I think so. Yeah.
I think they do. I think they do in Chicago.
Yeah. I think I got Chicago one more time. This is the second time playing the Packers, I believe. So I think that's done. They got Minnesota again in Chicago. So at the end of the day, that man doing what he did was a statement. It's like they didn't even have to. They gained an extra 5 yards to add on to what was already going to be a chip shot of a field goal. It was like a 39 yarder, 30 something like yarder, and they didn't gain anything crazy from getting that first down. They didn't.
Well, what they did gain though is the ability to end the game on offense.
Yeah.
That's kicking that field goal, 30 seconds left, whatever.
That's what I was going to get at. Yeah, it's like that's the only thing they got, and even so, odds. You think about it. Okay, they kick a field goal. They give Jordan Love the ball with like 40 seconds. It's like
the Packers had the momentum, though. I don't mean to keep cutting you off, but the Packers, they had the momentum late, and it's like Jordan Love could have driven them down for not just the tie, but the win.
True, which is very true, but like statistics show like the odds of that happening were still in favor of Detroit winning that game. With you got to rely on Jordan Love. Take away this scenario. If I just said, hey, team A, team B. Team A can kick a field goal and give Team B 30 seconds to score a field goal. Would you say Team B has a better opportunity, or do you think Team A has a better opportunity just to win? These things do happen. There was momentum, but at the end of the day, if they kick the field goal, I think Detroit probably still wins the game. I really do. But you're right. Jordan Love was balling out. He was doing his thing at the very end of the game like he should have, and it's a division game and anything can happen. So just kind of back to what I was saying, like just big shout out to Dan Campbell just saying, you know what? Yeah, we went 2 for 2 at first, and then we missed it big time going for 4th down on the Packers side of the field, and then to end the game with Jared Goff falling down, just getting the handoff off, we get the first down, a few more yards, and then we run the clock down and hit a game-winning field goal. Some would say it's a bonehead execution. I was even saying myself watching, I'm like, just kick the field goal. They're not gonna drive it. Kick the field goal, play good defense, write your best defensive scheme, and just keep them out of field goal range. Yeah, I get it. The Detroit Lions are riddled with injury on defense, like badly. They really were. But it's like the odds of somebody doing that. That's not something that happens all the time in the NFL. When there's 30, 40 seconds left. It's not a real thing. Now, if it was like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, mind you, I'd be like, okay, you got to run that clock out. But I wasn't sitting there because at this point now Jordan Love has to get on the field. Now there's no wiggle room. It's like I gotta get in the field goal range. If your defensive coordinator can't draw up something that can keep guys in the field goal range, that says a lot about your team, even though you are riddled with injury. Let's not look at the Packers and look at them. I mean, shit, Jaden Reed, their best receiver, had 0 yards. So let's just talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Josh Jacobs had a day. Christian Watson played well. Latavius Wicks had a couple catches. Tucker Kraft went off, But their best receiver had 0 yards. So I don't think that the Lions really had anything to fear outside of just shit in the bed. They're still favored to win whether or not they kick the field goal with time left on the clock, under a minute, or they run the clock out. It was a ballsy move, and at the end of the day, you got to take your hat off to Dan Campbell. You do. I think when it's all said and done, I don't want to say that he made the better decision by going for it because if they don't get it, it's 2 passes, now the Packers at field goal range. You know what I'm saying? So it was just one of those situations like, yo, however I feel, I'm going to ride with it. I'm going to run with it. And, we're going to trust our gut here. And when it comes to Dan Campbell, he trusts going for it. And it worked out. Just a really good game. Nothing really negative to say about either team. A really good game, a hard-fought division game. And I just wish as an Eagles fan the Packers would have gotten it. Even though I picked the Lions to win, I wish the Packers would have got it.
The thing about Dan Campbell employing his philosophy with going for it is that he instills confidence in his team. And they even mentioned during the game that the Lions rank, if not number 1, in the very top in the NFL converting on 4th down. I think the Lions lead the NFL in conversion percentage on 4th down. And that's because his players know, hey, even if we don't get it and it's 4th and 3, we're going to go for it. And the play call on 3rd down is with an idea to go for it. And I agree with you. Props to Dan Campbell. But also I will just mention, and we're spending a little extra time on this game, but just because of how great of a game it was. And the other thing I'll add to it is I've even seen the trickle-down effect to not just college, but high school football. Because I recently moved to Sonora for this new job. I'm covering 2 high schools in this new town, and Sonora has a town of like 5,000 people. Both teams that I'm covering have gone on to win NorCal championships, and they're going to be playing for state titles in SoCal this weekend. One of them being Sonora High School on Saturday night. On their first drive of the game, they went for it on 4th and 1, not once, but twice. First at their own 37-yard line, and then at the opponent's 47-yard line. The second one makes a little more sense at midfield. But to go for it on the opening drive of the game, at your own 31-yard line, now we're seeing the Dan Campbell effect trickle down into college and high school sports. And now more teams are having the confidence to go for it, even if the analytics don't necessarily say that it would be beneficial. So I agree with you, Kaz. Props to Dan Campbell for standing on business and just sticking by his philosophy, because that was the thing that was mentioned during the broadcast too, is just like a lot of times you might see coaches make these bold decisions in the first 3 quarters, but then they get a little scared in the 4th quarter and they start playing conservative, and then they totally go against their philosophy and everything that they built their program to be. So props to Dan Campbell for sticking by his guns. Javon, this next game isn't so interesting, but the Saints, they beat the Giants 14-11.
Did you guys see Coach Rizzi was chewing out his punter, and he was screaming at him? I don't know why he was yelling at him, and then Alvin Kamara had to be all right, coach, chill out. Chill out. He was
I saw a little bit of it, but not a lot.
Not really that much from this game. Derek Carr broke his hand. He was trying to do some crazy weird flip or something, and Saints fans were like, why are you trying to do this and that? Our season's over anyway, blah blah blah. The Giants pump faked everybody into thinking that they were going to come back and win, and they were like, oh, made you look. So and then basically a lot of these things are off the field things that happened during this game. When I saw somebody tweet about Tyrann Mathieu was like, why are you calling these plays like I ain't out here? And then he quote tweeted the person that said, he was like, that was actually me. The person said that Malik Neighbor said that, and Tyrann Mathieu came out on Twitter and was or on X, and was like, hey, that was me that said that. So I thought that was pretty funny. But I don't know, man. Derek Carr, is the Derek Carr era over with the Saints? Perhaps. I feel like if the Saints got a quarterback, their team would be pretty good. Their defense is solid. Like I said, I like their players. Olave is probably out for the rest of the year. They got good. Taysom Hill's a gadget guy. If you add a Cam Ward to that offense, I feel like they could make some noise. Absolutely next year. You add like I don't think who else was a quarterback. I think Shador will probably be gone by then, but there's Cam Ward.
He's going to be a Raider.
Yeah. We'll probably get into that a little later. But yeah, if you had like a Cam Ward or I don't know, maybe Quinn Ewers maybe-ish to this offense, they could be pretty decent.
Heisman finalist, Cam Ward, as we'll get to a little bit later. But this next game I'll get to myself as the Steelers. They beat the Browns 27-14 in an AFC North battle. The thing that was interesting about this one is that apparently the Browns had the Steelers number. And despite the Browns coming into this game at 3-9, Steelers at 10-2, or excuse me, 9-3, the Steelers, just given the fact that it's division and it's a rivalry, the Steelers were still a little weary of the Browns in this game, but Steelers ultimately took care of business, and Jameis Winston, his prayers were answered as the Lord did not make him throw any pick sixes in this game. If he stopped himself and didn't say the sixes part, then maybe they would have been a little more well off if he didn't throw any interceptions at all. Nevertheless, his prayers were answered. So, Kaz, this next game, the Vikings beat the Falcons 42-21 in Kirk Cousins' homecoming. Another stinker for Kirko Chains.
Yeah, I was just glad to see Justin Jefferson, man, finally have a damn game. Like, golly, bro.
Right.
Like, the man's got plenty of yards. He's still going to be a top receiver, when it's all said and done for another season. Yet again, another season. But it's like a down year for Jay Jettis, man. Like, and he's healthy. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he's not missing, multiple weeks or anything like that. And Sam Darnold has played well all season long. The Vikings have 2 losses. So it's like they have 2 losses, and like Jay Jettis doesn't really have much to show for outside of, putting them in positions to score and, and win games. But it was cool to see Jay Jettis, kind of get a spark back just in time. Yeah, I didn't expect it to be that bad of a blowout, but I mean, God, man, I'm not a believer in the Falcons. I'm not sure who. I think I was talking to one of my homies before the season started. We did a early predictions, and they were like, "Oh, Atlanta for sure got Kirk Cousins. They're gonna be fine. This, that, and the other, right?" I'm like, the Bucs just beat the Eagles in the playoffs, and then fast forward a couple weeks in, the Bucs beat the Eagles in the regular season. I'm like, the Buccaneers are the best team in the NFC South, in my opinion. And I'm not just saying that because right now they are playing like the team, because the Saints were riddled to injury, and no Chris Olave. He's been on IR forever, and obviously losing Rashid Shaheed and things of that such, and even Derek Carr for a little while. So it's like the Saints probably have the better roster, I'm gonna say, give or take, but the Bucs are the better team. They're better coached. I think that they have the best quarterback in the NFC South. Even though Bryce Young's got the ball right now, but let's just call it what it is. Baker Mayfield has also been balling. I don't have a lot of the Falcons don't have an identity. It's like they have guys around that have names, cool names. You got Bijan, you got Drake London, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Kirk Chains, but it's like it doesn't matter if you have all these guys if you guys aren't making plays. You guys have no identity. Your offense actually revolves around Darnell Mooney. I mean, that's just the truth. You take away Darnell Mooney, you guys don't win half the games you guys have won so far this season. So the Falcons, to me, just are not a good team. I don't think they're a terrible team, but they don't have an identity. That's all. Like it's too late in the season for the Falcons to make a surge when your best players, guys who would thrive on other teams like Bijan, like Drake London, are pretty much non-existent. I mean, they can try to force feed the ball, but it just isn't working. So them playing against a team like the Vikings, who I know Vikings fans, me being from the Midwest, I've told you guys this plenty of times. They're like, we always do this thing where we win a bunch of games in the regular season, all of a sudden we just shit the bed, which is not true, by the way. The Vikings have done it like twice in the last 5 or 6 years where they start off really hot and then all of a sudden they just disappear. I don't think that's really the case with these Vikings. They're in the toughest division of football right now, besides probably the NFC West. I think the NFC West is the most competitive, but when it comes to talent-wise, I think the NFC North is definitely the best right now. And you're sitting at 2 losses. You guys are good. And you're doing that without Justin Jefferson, your best player, probably the best receiver in the NFL. Not even finding the end zone. The Vikings are good, and the Vikings just proved a massive point in this game. Yo, this ain't no fluke season. So just watch out for Minnesota. They're gonna make something happen here, I think.
I agree. And one other name I wanted to add to the Falcons impact players is Ray McCloud, former San Francisco 49ers return man. I only know that he's made an impact receiving because I have him on my dynasty fantasy team. And so I just see him putting up numbers every week. And I'm like, all right, Ray, I see you. You're much more than just a return man. So shout out to him as well. But obviously, like you said, it's the Darnell Mooney show. And that's crazy in an offense with Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts. But that's the Falcons, I guess. Doesn't really make sense. Jaevon, this next game, the Buccaneers, they beat the Raiders 28-13 in the battle of former John Gruden teams.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's crazy that I just realized that. Bucky Irving was questionable in this game. A lot of fantasy owners, including myself, were wondering, hey, why is Bucky not playing? He's got shoulder pads on and not playing. So he came in for a little bit, gave you about 3 points, and they let the other guy come in. I forget what his name is off the top of my head. But the other running back, not Rashad White. It was a different guy. He came in and scored a couple of touchdowns.
Shaun Tucker?
Shaun Tucker. He came in and he did pretty well, but Rashad White got the majority of the carries. Jalen McMillan from Washington, UW, played really well in this game. He was kind of a guy that went under the radar at that UW team because Roma Dunze was kind of the guy that everybody was talking about. Jalen Polk was another guy on that team. McMillan was the other receiver that was getting a lot of targets on that team, but kind of got swept under the rug. I believe it was a 3rd-round pick. So they're probably pleased to have him play as well as he did in this past game. But the Raiders aren't good. Raiders are just trying. Brock Bowers is like the only bright spot for Raiders fans because I think he broke the like tight end rookie record receptions. Yep. It was like 88 or 87 or something like that. Brock Bowers is very good at football. And it doesn't matter who his quarterback is, whether it's Desmond Ridder, Aiden O'Connell, or Gardner Minshew. So just imagine if he gets a guy like Shaun was saying, Shedeur Sanders, throwing him the pigskin. He'll see a lot more production then. But as of right now, though, I can't really judge the Raiders on any type of scale because their quarterback play is so bad that it kind of affects the entire team. So, yeah, the Bucs won and they covered the spread. How would I know? Because I gambled on them.
You know it. And this next game was a bit of a stinker, but I'll talk about it. As the Jaguars beat the Titans 10-6. Good for the Jaguars. I mean, now both teams are 3-10. It's like whoop-de-doo. They're competing for top 5 picks. The thing about this game that I thought was the most interesting is after the Titans beat the Texans, and the Texans haven't been consistent this season. They're going to get into the playoffs as the AFC South winner, but they have not been consistent this year. And for the Titans to go from for the Titans to go from defeating the Houston Texans to losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars doesn't really make sense, but I guess it's AFC South football. And Kaz, if you could do the honors for us with this next game, it's your squad as the Eagles beat the Panthers 22-16.
This one a game I'm gonna put behind me. I mean, there's not really much to say about it besides hats off to the Panthers. They played a very hard-fought game against a very good football team.
Leggett had y'all spooked for like 10 seconds.
We should have lost. I'll say that. We should have lost. I mean, we should. That same play at the end of the game to Leggett, gets caught 9 out of 10 times. We got lucky, and we got some Chiefs luck. There you go. We got what the Chiefs are used to. That's it. I don't know what kind of black magic was sprinkled over that field, but Eagles are at home. Missing a couple defensive guys. Cooper DeJean getting lit up by Adam Thielen. It happens. Good season, man. Very good season, but Adam had your card that day. Bryce Young looked very well. Outplayed Jalen Hurts big time. It was an embarrassing win. And Eagles Twitter is up in shambles right now. AJ Brown's not happy. He's made it very clear. He said,
what's going on with your boy, man?
What's going on with Brandon? What's going on with Brandon Graham? Just airing all the dirty laundry.
What's going on? This is not the time to be having this problem right now,
bro. You can polish your turd all you want, but it's still gonna stink. You know what I'm saying? Oh. So, this is the problem. When I say turd, I don't mean the individual. I'm talking about just the situation. The situation.
Hold on. So when you guys say "go birds," do you mean to say "go turds" instead?
Fuck off. Hey, listen, you can't talk this season. I don't want to hear no slander from you guys.
I'm sorry. I had to.
You guys can't say shit. But no, it was an embarrassing win. But a win is a win, and we got to look past it and pray to God that this is not the identity of the Eagles entering in the playoffs, because it will not get us to where we need to go. I'm sorry, it won't. The Panthers are not a good team. They're not. I don't care how well they play. I don't care that it's week 14 and teams are playing us really hard and this and that and the other. I don't care. I don't care. The Panthers should have been beat comfortably on the road against Philadelphia. They weren't. We can make 1,000 excuses. We won the game. That's all that matters. So we'll see how it pans out. I think that AJ Brown's going to have a crazy game next week, because when he starts to get upset, he's been very quiet this year. Very, very quiet. Very, very quiet. He's been very cool, cordial, even though his numbers are very low. And then this happens, and he's open on a lot of plays, and there's film to show it. And everybody on Eagles Twitter and even on ESPN, they're saying why is Jalen Hurts not hitting? He's open. It's an issue. It's an issue. And I even tweeted, as a matter of fact, I think I have it right here on deck. And I'll say it out loud. I will, because I'm sick of the Jalen Hurts. I love the guy. I root for the guy. I cheer for the guy so heavy because I've seen what he can do. But I said on Twitter, Jalen Hurts defenders are starting to look mad weird. I get that he's not the QB that's tailored to give us 250 plus a game and multiple passing touchdowns. But there's no way you're watching him play and saying out loud, yep, this is going to win us a championship. His performance matters. And I go, and I typically have had his back since the jump, but AJ's frustration is warranted. Hurts looks very average. Sam Darnold looks twice the quarterback that Jalen Hurts is, and is surrounded by half the talent. And that's just nothing but the truth. Nothing but the truth. It's not that Hurts is a terrible quarterback. He's not playing up to his potential. That's the only problem I have. You cannot have 100 yards passing, bro. I'm sorry, with AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 100 passing yards. Well, you got Saquon Barkley. In what world before Saquon has there been other running backs that have been that great? Because he's not the first one, and the quarterback struggles to get 150 yards passing. It just something's not adding up. And the fact that it took us having a game like that against Carolina for this to be brought up says a lot. We are sitting at, what we at? 2 losses on the season. 2 losses on the season, and we're not happy. That should tell people something. Oh, it's just the overboard Eagles fans mad. No, it's not that we're mad about the fact that we only have 2 losses. Look what happened to us last year being 10-1, and what happened? Went straight downhill. We can't act like that's not a possibility. We can't look at this offense and go, I'm comfortable. Hell no, I'm not comfortable. Not after that. I would like to see some sort of consistency. I don't need perfection, but I need consistency. And right now, I'm not seeing consistency out of our quarterback. I'm hoping that it's just we're being lackadaisical because we got Saquon. But at the end of the day, what do you do when Saquon gets shut down? Are we all of a sudden going to flip a switch and things are going to work out? Well, we don't know, because you got to use these guys so that they're ready to go. You can't just do it like that. So I just want them to have more of a true identity on offense and not just, we got Saquon Barkley. That's never worked in the history of the NFL. We got one guy. So just a game that it's an embarrassing one. Happy we won, but we're still sitting in second place in NFC. So with not much to show for it.
Are you worried going into the Pittsburgh game?
No, not at all. No,
Not worried.
no, I'm not. No, I think again, this was an embarrassing win. I'm confident that this is a one-time thing. Like, I don't think Hurts is going to put up 100 yards against Pittsburgh, and then we just get our ass kicked by Pittsburgh. No, I think that we actually played Pittsburgh really well. We make the adjustments because, like I said, when AJ complains, usually the very next game, actually usually the next couple games, he balls out. So I think we mix some things up a little bit. Saquon will probably find the end zone more, but probably not have a lot of yards. I don't think Saquon's even going to get Eric Dixon's record. I don't. I think that at some point he'll be denied. He might have a game or two where he goes for like maybe 85, 90. He has to average 121 yards a game to get the record from here on out. Is it possible? Yeah. Can we do that and win? I don't know. So we'll see.
We shall see. And it's going to be another important game coming up this week for the Eagles. And there will be an important game for the 49ers, as Toddy mentioned earlier, on Thursday Night Football against the Rams. But before we get there, we got to finish wrapping up week 14. And the next game, Jaevon, is an AFC East battle as the Dolphins defeated the Jets. But before we get there, I just figure I should highlight this comment from Cousin Cordell, who says, what about the Steelers? Def is better than the Panthers, who just locked y'all up. So
yeah, no, that's true. But here's the thing, Cordell, the Panthers defense definitely is not as good as the Steelers defense, but the Panthers played very well. And we were very one-dimensional and very lackadaisical. The Panthers also played the Chiefs to a one-score game too. I think it's like a 3-point game, so a 2 or 3 point game. So these things just happen. I'm not really too over concerned about that. We have far too much talent to really fuck it up and do what we did last year. I'm not worried about the Steelers at all when it comes to that. So yes, they have a better defense, but we still do have Saquon, and he has not been denied all season long. I just don't want to rely on that. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to rely on that to win games. That's all. But you guys cannot stop Saquon. Sorry.
Yeah, that's understandable. And in addition to Cordell talking about the Steelers defense, he says, and the Steelers offense is way better as well. I believe that he's mainly just talking about the Panthers and not about the Eagles offense in comparison. But anyways, we'll keep it moving. Cousin Cordell will have a lot more to say after this weekend's game against the Eagles, and we will check back with him after that. But Toddy, as I was getting to, the Dolphins beat the Jets 32-26 in overtime.
Tua is the difference on why the Dolphins are somewhat relevant. I mean, those 4 weeks plus that he was gone, it was kind of like, all right, we're seeing, Tyler Huntley help save us, and it's, very frustrating. I believe they went through a couple of injuries during that span as well. I think just, Tua is one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the league when he's playing. I think the Jets are a mess. Kevin came to me on Sunday morning and was like, let's bet on the Jets. I said, every time I hear that meme, Pete Davidson, who bets on the Jets? every time. It just kind of just comes down to, I think Tua is the, dare I say, better quarterback right now. I mean, Aaron Rodgers hasn't really shown me anything this season. So where I think it's just, he's old, and it's like, all right, is this just a failed, like the whole thing, just the whole Jets fiasco, him, the 4 plays. I feel like all this stuff was probably supposed to happen last year. Like the Jets were, I feel like they had all the momentum going into it last year, and then, Rodgers tore his Achilles, and that was it. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is one of the, best quarterbacks I've seen play. He's got a bunch of stats, a lot of accolades, obviously has a Super Bowl, but I feel like I don't think he's the same guy. Jets fans, they're hoping and wishing that guy's in there somewhere. He ain't in there. I don't know if he's going to come back next season. If he does depart, where does he go? That's going to be the $1 million question. And it wasn't that the Jets roster was bad. Like they had Saleh, and they were one of the top defenses in the league. They got rid of him. They've deteriorated deteriorated since then. I mean, Brees Hall hasn't really showed up. Garrett Wilson hasn't really been getting fed the ball. They try to force feed Devontae. Devontae still balls, but I mean, I feel like you should try to, involve everybody into the offense and use all your players. But yeah, I think this Dolphins team is, probably going to end up being too little too late based off of the injuries. But yeah, I think maybe the Dolphins can try to make some noise going forward. But I think the Jets were eliminated from playoff contention this past week. So yeah, Dolphins maybe sneak into the playoffs. The AFC playoff picture is kind of there's some hope, but I think they're gonna need some help for sure.
Somehow the Jets have just been an absolute dumpster fire, and that sounds like a stupid statement given the history of the New York Jets. And you can't attribute Aaron Rodgers' injury last year to that. But this season, they have just been an absolute dumpster fire, and it does not make sense. And this was just the latest installment of it. The only way for this story to get better is if Aaron Rodgers completed the Brett Favre trifecta and ended up going to play for the Minnesota Vikings. That would be the only way for them to truly have this story come to an end in an appropriate manner. But now just getting to the next game, the Seahawks beat the Cardinals 30-18. I'll get to this one myself because it was really interesting, Kaz, because I picked the Cardinals to win this game. I picked the Cardinals to win the division a couple weeks back. Meanwhile, you picked the Seahawks, and the Seahawks have been rolling since. I believe that's 3 wins in a row for the Seattle Seahawks. And it looks like the Seahawks are the front runners right now to win the NFC West, which is really interesting. The Cardinals, in the games that have gotten important, have just faded to black, and it's unfortunate for them and their fans. But aside from the 49ers, the Seahawks have one other contender, and that is the Rams, who beat the Bills 44-42 on Sunday, Kaz.
Yeah, something about that game. Obviously, I showed you guys earlier. I called every game correct, so clearly I picked the Rams to beat the Bills. I was like, you know what? I was like, the Rams are at home, and the Bills, to me, are not as good as their record shows. And what I mean by that is this. Josh Allen's a beast, okay? He's a very good quarterback. Not denying that at all. But when I look at the Buffalo Bills, I look at their schedule, which I don't have it up right now, but if I remember correctly, I'm like, the Bills have not really beat anybody that has a winning record. Matter of fact, just so I don't mess this up.
Hey. They beat
Hold up. Just so I don't mess this up, because I really want to be on point with this, because I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Buffalo, hear me out. Week 1, Arizona, which is week 1. Nobody knew the Cardinals were even going to be a contender. Win. Beat the Dolphins. Win. Beat the Jags. Win. Lose to the Ravens. Lose to the Texans. Beat the Jets. Beat the Titans. Beat Seattle. And this is when Seattle's on that 3 or 4 game losing streak. I don't know where in the early end of the season. Okay. Yeah. Beat the Dolphins again. Beat the Colts. Then they beat the Chiefs. Okay. That's a big one. All right. Then they beat the Niners. You guys were still in the snowy game. So when it comes to the Buffalo Bills, I'm like, look at the schedule. I'm like, I get it. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're doing.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, Cardinals week 1, Dolphins, Jags, lose Ravens, lose Texans, Jets, Titans, Seattle, early Seattle, Dolphins again, Colts. That's all they're
How good are the Bills?
How good are the Bills? And I look at the Rams, I'm like, you're already in one of the most competitive divisions in football. You're in the most competitive division of football right now. And if you're not the most competitive, you're number 2. Buffalo, you're on the road. Puka Nacua is playing like a top 5 wide receiver. Matthew Stafford is a name that we all know and should understand who the hell he is. And Sean McVay is a great coach. You guys are fucking losing this game. And I think that they lost it rightfully so. The Rams came out and popped them in the mouth early, And the Bills had to scrounge around to try to find ways to win this game. And the Rams were like, okay, that's fine. You can score points, so can we. And we already went up. I think it was 13-0 or 14. They went up like 13 or 14, I think, at some point, if not mistaken. But for sure, at least up by 10 at one point. And Buffalo battled back, but that's how you beat the Buffalo Bills right there. You get a lead on them, and you force Josh Allen to play hero ball to win, but you don't let up at all. The Rams had the offense to do it. All they needed was an early lead. And to conclude that game, just stick to your guns and do what works. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams. Handle business, bro. Make it make sense. And that's exactly what they did. So I was very confident calling that game. I was very, very confident. I like Buffalo. I like Josh Allen. But I'm like, there ain't nothing I've seen this season that's telling me you guys are a juggernaut. Besides the fact he had a pretty cake schedule. So Rams won. They won at home. And the Rams are fighting for that spot or fighting for that division spot. So who knows? Maybe they're going to prove me wrong and be the guys coming out of the NFC West.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Had 12 catches for 162 yards and a touchdown.
Beast.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Beast. He's on my fantasy.
Toddy, that's why Toddy's in first place. And so, Jaevon, if you could close us out with the game that we all just watched. I'm not sure which of the three versions you guys watched. I started out with the Simpsons version through the first quarter. Couldn't take it for much longer. It was a nice touch, but I was trying to actually watch the game. So I flipped it to the Manning cast, and then I flipped to the regular version afterwards. But regardless of which version of this Monday Night Football game you were watching, Jaevon, the Bengals beat the Cowboys 27-20.
Is Jamar the best receiver in the league? I feel like that's
it's either Jamar or Justin.
And they were on the same team at one point in time.
Not because you're up, Toddy. I knew you were going to say that. Jamar Chase is the best receiver in football for sure this season, without a doubt. I'm taking Jay Jettas overall, though.
And do we applaud Jamar for kind of waiting on getting a contract because he tried to hold out, and then he was like, "Oh, if we don't come, well, I'll just play the season out." And even though he's 2 years removed from Jettas was a year removed, like he was due for his contract, and Jamar Chase had 2 years left, so people were like, "Hey, you got to play like one more year." He's probably going to get what did Jettas get? Like 40 or 30 something? I think Jettas got like 35.
A lot of money.
I think Jettas got 35. So what is Jamar going to ask for? 40? Like something crazy. He's going to ask for something crazy. I thought the Cowboys surprisingly came out swinging, scoring on their first possession. And I put in the group chat, I was like, Cowboy? 7-0 Cowboys?
You got Uncle Manny a little excited.
Yeah. Uncle Manny got juice. Rico Dowdle played really well in this game. I mean, he's starting to come into his own as RB1 there. The Cowboys are they're kind of just the broken because Dak Prescott isn't playing. I don't know if that's saying much, but their $60 million quarterback is out for the rest of the season. And they're kind of just trying to make whatever happen. They made a play late, like a push late to try and win the game. But I just think Joe Burrow he's been putting a Superman cape on for the entire season. And that's kind of what it's looked like. And it's been really Jamar Chase is out there somewhere. I'm going to find him. Jamar's going to make plays. And that's kind of been their offense. And sprinkled in with a little bit of T. Higgins, who's gone probably after the end of the year. But I mean, Joe Burrow has been playing like he statistically is the best quarterback in the league, and Jamar Chase is the best receiver in the league. Those ingredients kind of make the best offense of the league. But when your defense has been playing as bad as what the Bengals defenses look like the entire year, that will reflect on what their record looks like. And they needed this win. I don't know. I think statistically they're still, like mathematically, they're still alive in the playoff hunt, but they need a lot to kind of go their way. And they got to win pretty much every game going forward.
They certainly do.